I like to read. I like to work crossword puzzles. I like to travel. I haven't traveled very much since 2001, 2011, 9/11, that's
Yeah.
2001.
Right.
So I haven't done any plane traveling since then. What else can I tell you?
Thank you.
That's about all.
I'm sure there's more and we'll learn, but thank you for that introduction. No, yeah.
I'm Janet Adams. I am a PLM graduate. I guess it was 2011. I live in Farmers Branch. I attend Walnut Hill Lutheran in Northwest Dallas. Miles was my rector when I went to Via de Cristo. Went to Via de Cristo, then PLM. I'm widowed, a long time now. I work for the government. I work for the Environmental Protection Agency. I am still working. I'm still hoping to work for another 3-4 years. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, so I'm used to, having grown up in a place where everybody's a Lutheran, and moving here was an eye-opening experience. Everybody was not Lutheran. Although I had been in the military. I'd been in the military, so I had done some traveling. What else? Well, I was a school teacher. I was a school librarian, ran away and joined the Army, then married somebody I met in the Army. He was a Dallasite. That's how I got to Texas the second time. He passed away in 1996. I stayed put. I had that great government paying job and stayed put. No kids. I attend 2 12-step programs and have a lot of activity at church, but we're going to talk about that next.
Talk about that next.
I guess that's it.
Thank you, Janet.
My name is Miles Holder. I worship at Grace Lutheran in Carrollton. I'm 57 years old. I've been married for 35 years. I have 3 allegedly grown sons. Various stages of independence. My formative experience was also Via de Cristo, called Cursillo back then.
Right.
Know many of the people around this room because of that. That was my positive formative experience, and my negative formative experience was when the congregation I worshiped with for many, many years closed. That was about 2010, I think, at St. Paul's in Farmers Branch. But the good folks at Grace in Carrollton received quite a number of us. We migrated north and now worship with them. That's a very, very positive experience, but the process through which we went to close was definitely not positive. I came to Parish Lay Ministry Academy, which is what it was called back then, to try to discern whether or not I was being called to ministry, and didn't hear a call. But not ordained ministry, definitely called to ministry, and that's why I'm here.
Okay. What's your day job?
I'm in sales. I travel internationally quite a bit, and for that I get on planes all the time.
Oh wow, we got one that does and one that doesn't.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
My name is Brian Swenson. I'm also from Grace Lutheran in Carrollton. I have been a member there for 20 years now, since we moved to Texas from Ohio. I am married to a wonderful, wonderful woman, and she is a saint for putting up with me.
Yes.
Yes, she is. There is no doubt. There is no doubt. I too am a PLM grad, kind of sideways. I came to Parish Lay Academy and went through all the classes and completed all the classes except for one paper and my internship. And it was at that point that I had an extreme falling out with our pastor, almost to the point of leaving Grace. But my wife and I, in praying together, decided that, there are too many people that I love and care about in this congregation to allow one man who is also not only a pastor, but he is just a man, take me out of that. My wife, and I'll use my wife for this example, which helped explain it to me a little better. My father-in-law is a minister, or was a minister. He has since passed. My brother-in-law is also a now retired Lutheran minister in Ohio. A lot of my friends in Ohio are ministers, and I still have a couple of mentors that I deal with through the computer to talk, etc. I currently work for a manufacturer in Carrollton after retiring from the computer industry 5 years ago. This is a much less stressful job. I manufacture signs for large retailers, and I also do woodworking in my part-time. I make large yard art for Christmas. I've been doing that for quite a few years, but that was not paying the bills as I wanted to do, so I had to go back to work full-time, so now I do the woodwork part-time. But I have not been to Via de Cristo, even though Kathy keeps trying to push me. And I don't know why, but my call actually came when I was a youth. Spent every summer at a church camp in Ohio, and
Which
was Camp Moana.
Yep.
Camp Moana, and a little bit at Camp Luther, and then I was on staff at Camp Moana for 3 summers, 73, 74, and 75, and it was at that time that Ken Larkin would have his talks, with staff members, etc., one-on-one or in groups. And he said, if you can think of one reason to not enter the ministry, then don't. And since told the Bishop Canalstat, and he said, eh. Yeah. So, but that was, and I could think of a bunch of reasons why not to go. So I didn't go to seminary after college. And when I came to Texas, my wife and I, we knew we likened it to going into the witness protection program without having committed a crime. So we had to basically start our entire life all over with our 3 children. My oldest is 34, my youngest is 21, and after May we'll be off the payroll because he graduates from college.
Keep telling yourself that. Keep telling yourself that.
Well, yeah, we'll keep him on insurance.
Yeah,
But
It was a great plan.
yeah, it was.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm Nancy Donahue. Actually am from Kurt's Church, Ascension Lutheran. I started the Parish Lay Academy, about 9 years ago. I managed to get straight through it and graduated and been busy with it. I've been married to my husband for 23 years. We've got a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old, both going to be in high school by next fall. Fun. A bit different than when I started before, and they were like 5 and 7. But I had worked for quite a while in the telecommunications area, computers, kind of getting into operations analysis and that kind of stuff. But since I finished Parish Lay Academy, they finally figured out that I had fibromyalgia. So I pretty much now just stay home most of the time. And, I find my opportunities for dealing with others, besides at the church, is just at the house. We're the house that all the teenagers come over to. When there's spring break or about anything. It's a big difference. Grew up in South Dakota, where a snow day meant, the wind was blowing, you could hear the wind blowing 40, 50 miles an hour, and you couldn't see Dad's red van parked at the street. Down here.
And sometimes you still had to go to school.
Yeah.
Snow day? What's that?
Now the snow day means that I end up with 5 or 6 extra teenagers at the house.
I'll give you some hints how to survive that, because they did it at our house too.
Yeah, but I guess
Okay. Harry.
I'm Harry Hurd. I'm a graduate of EML. Love the program. I'm one of those that kept asking for more and more and more and more. So I've been biting at the bit for a long time. I'm currently, for the last over 3 years now, where I was this morning, attending my other class. I'm attending the Ignatius Spiritual Institute at the Jesuit Retreat House in Lake Dallas. I'm in the process of finishing the first part of the 3 courses on phase 1, phase 2. My spiritual director wants me to get ready to do phase 2, which is I will go into what's called the 19th annotation, where I'll spend 10 months working with the spiritual director. Then after that, I spend another 5 months with a group of spiritual directors in what's called the companion program, and then I will be a spiritual director.
Certified spiritual
Yeah.
director. Yeah.
Married, 3 kids, 7 grandkids. I've been dealing with horrific health problems to the point where we've had to sell our house, and I've had to move in with my daughter and son-in-law, and they're the 2 youngest kids, which we like real well. That seems to be doing pretty well. A lot of my background is I major in painting, a minor in ceramics, and a minor in sculpture. And I like music. I've done what we call Crucio, Vito Cristo, over the years in Cairo's prison ministry for over 20-some years, and look back over that and realize that I've staffed over 48 weekends. You know, I very excited about this, and I've read this, and I just, I think I've got a pretty good grasp of where I'm going to fit in. I have to see how this is going to work with our particular church and what's going on. And got very good, strong support from the church council and so on. I'm getting a lot of support from my spiritual director. He's encouraging me to write a book on spirituality for Protestants. I've been taking the St. Ignatius spiritual exercises and being able to translate that into today's language for Protestants. And they're so excited about me being out there with all these Catholics that they're paying for all my tuition and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. That's ecumenical.
Yeah, and I got to Pastor Kyle. So aren't you, I go out there and there's one of the advanced courses I was taking, there's 10 Jesuit priests, 4 Jesuits novitiate that are in their 8th year or so. And the others were 4 other spiritual directors that have come from all across the United States that are advanced training. And I, being a good Lutheran, I got up and introduced myself, and Father Ron said that I had a very unique gift. I understood 16th century Spanish Catholicism. I understood St. Ignatius. I was able to translate it into today's language for Protestants, and that's why I was there. And I promised them that I was there. I would not try to convert anybody. Aren't you afraid? I said, no. I said, the Pope could be there and I wouldn't be afraid. Don't worry about that. I have no problem with that. So, but, and we do that. I play every Sunday night for the Tuesday service that we do. And then we invite everybody March the 27th.
That's your church stuff.
Thursday, yeah.
Wait till we get to the congregation. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Wow, that's a tough act to follow. Compared to everybody else in this, I go to work, do my job, go home. I'm John Kruger. I grew up in Rochester, Minnesota.
Yeah.
No, that,
Yeah.
It's 9 months of winter and 3 months of bad skiing.
Road construction.
Yeah, well, those are the pre-winter, winter, post-winter, and road
Road
repair.
construction, yes.
No, graduated from high school in 1973, told my parents I wanted to pursue a career in ministry. And my parents told me to get a haircut and get a real job. So, out of arrogance, I joined the Air Force, and I was around there for about 21 years. Worked in law enforcement as a criminal investigator. On the side, I'm an actor. I've been on stage since I was 7 years old, so I do a lot of that stuff still. My ego's too huge. Either that or I really like being other people besides me. Anyway, but that's just me. Gosh, did the Air Force stuff for like 21 years. Was married, still am married for 37 years now. Got 2 kids. My daughter's 33, my son's 27. Got 3 grandchildren. We all live in Wichita Falls, which is where I go to church at Faith Lutheran. A PLM graduate in 2005. I always find it kind of amazing. I see these sometimes really large churches, especially in the Metroplex, that have no PLMs or 1 PLM or 2. And we've got 4 and a 5th one that's starting with your class today. And I think that's because sometimes, and it's church stuff, so I'll stay away from it, but I think that as small as Wichita Falls is, sometimes the missional idea has taken a root really early as a form of survival. And so I'm curious to see how we're going to grow that and develop that. I started out by saying, I told my parents, I think that I wanted to pursue a career in the ministry, and in 13 months I'll be 60, and I'm still pursuing that,
Yeah.
but thinking this is going to maybe be the next jumping point, after finishing this one. But then it's kind of like telling my wife, I'm going to run away and join the circus. Yeah. So
She says have a nice trip.
Yeah,
Just take back your bag, go for it.
Enjoy.
We've got extra luggage. But no, it's being in Wichita Falls has been a real thrill ride for me because it is so much different from everywhere else that I've ever lived. And Texas is really a different environment. As a PLM, it's offered me a lot of opportunities to go to a lot of different places and do a lot of different things in the community already. I work at hospice, and do not pursue that at all in a missional sense. I don't wear that on my sleeve. I don't go in wearing a PLM name tag. I go in, I wash laundry and visit patients and do that kind of thing. Anyway, so, gosh, I'm also a Via de Cristo person. Went through Weekend 72 here a few years back and staffed, 6, 7, 8 other weekends as well, which really helps out a whole lot along with the same thing. There's a lot of the presentations that we put together really tie in well. Mm-hmm. And so it works as a good marriage between church and PLM and the Via de Cristo movement as a whole. I think they all work really, really well together. And that's pretty much me.
Good. I'm in my 35th year in ministry, my 16th year at Ascension Garland. I have a wife and 3 children, all grown. And yes, the last one finally got married and left. Although she just moved down the road with my redneck son-in-law. Anyway.
Not comes along.
I have 3 grandchildren, 2 in Ohio and 1 in Chicago. The one in Chicago is part Indian, as in from India, and obviously part Caucasian. And so I have a wonderful Lutheran Indian son-in-law. I have the redneck, and I have a marvelous daughter-in-law that I love dearly. So I did my undergraduate at Concordia Moorhead, Minnesota.
Oh.
Yes, that's right, because I'm a North Dakota kid. I did my seminary at what became Trinity, first class out of there in Columbus, Ohio. And I have served congregations 5 miles from nowhere, Minnesota, South Bronx, New York City, and first ring suburban Cleveland Heights, Ohio, and now Ascension, Garland. I've also, in the course of all of those things, done alternative to incarceration programs, ankle bracelets and wonderful things like that for Lutheran Metropolitan Ministries in Cleveland. Worked with 12-step programs and people that were trying to get through those kinds of things while they were in monitoring. And now I adjunct teach at El Centro downtown and teach world religions and all that other kind of stuff, as well as being PLM 1 and PLM 2 and the register. Something's got to give. Anyway, so that's me. I have grandchildren that will be 6, 3, and 2. Yeah. And my wife is up visiting all of them so that I could be here today. Anyway, all right. Now, tell me about both congregations, or one congregation and you tell me about the other.
That
Okay.
sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
And I'll add.
Yeah,
whatever
she'll
he
fill
should
in.
Okay,
add.
okay,
Yeah.
good.
When we're here, we worship at Preston Hollow Presbyterian Church. They scrubbed the rolls recently. We're at 1,800 baptized members. And I sing in the choir, just love it. Mac Wilberg is going to conduct us tomorrow in worship service, and he's conducting a concert that I won't be participating in. Mac is a well-known composer and director of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Last Easter, I was really excited to sing with 93 other voices at 9:30 and 95 other voices at 11 o'clock. Wow, it was amazing. I have been a Stephen minister at that congregation. I was for probably 3 years. And then about that time got busy enough in Lutheran Men in Mission that I needed to drop something, and Stephen ministry is what I resigned from. I'm the Region 2 director on the National Board for Lutheran Men in Mission. That's the Southwest. There are 5 synods in the Southwest. And my 3-year term is up this summer. I've decided to not run for re-election. After our certification, we finished it up in January, and we, in a time of discernment, and a piece of what I've discerned is I can continue doing men's ministry without being on the national board, and so I will be not running for re-election. As my ministry is primarily in Colorado and points south and west, that leads us to the tiny congregation we belong to. It's been a mission start for 37 years now. And actually, when the mission developer finally retired after 31 years of ministry at that congregation, the previous bishop said to me one time when I met with him, "Oh, you're from that stubborn congregation." And so we are now a synodically authorized worship community.
Okay.
If you look us up on the ELCA website, we're listed as a chapel because we have no full-time pastor. But if you ask any of us, we are proudly Spirit of the Mountain Lutheran Church.
Don't care what the ELC or the bishop has to say. Why do you think you're called the stubborn church? Whatever.
So,
Sorry.
We are really good at taking care of one another. And like a lot of Lutheran churches, if you can find your way to our worship, we are really, really friendly. On the other hand, the one outreach we do once per month is a community game night, 9 months of the year, because you wouldn't want to interrupt the summer too much. We're afraid to pray at it when we serve soup at the beginning. We're afraid to put our name across who's the sponsor. We are not a missional church. Kathy and I have been tugging and pushing and preparing and helping where we could over the, how long we've been there, almost 4 years now. And there are some signs that are heartening, and there are some signs that are not. But a part of the literature for this made me excited because we may be able to continue to lay the groundwork for perhaps something other than we'll stay here till we die and then there won't be Lutheran worship in the canyon anymore. So that's my perception of
Okay.
our wonderful
Thank you.
church.
Well, what I'll add to that is that at Preston Hollow, they're going through a transition with their head pastor leaving after how many years?
Mid-90s, I think. So
Yeah, long time. And so where that church is headed, I really don't know. My personal opinion is that it's very pastor driven, and as a lay leader, I don't feel that I'm really needed, and part of that is probably because of my seminary training and their mindset that we need to have an ordained pastor doing a lot of teaching. Whereas both of us are very good teachers, I think, and certainly we've been trained and know what we're doing. So that's an uncomfortable fit for me. Personally, I served as children's director for 5.5 years at North Park Presbyterian Church, and then as the interim director of Christian Ed in Tyler at First Pres. Both of those churches were 600 to 800 membership. My home churches before that, where I did a lot of volunteer work when I was raising my children, were more 300 to 400 membership range. So being in a 1,800 member church is really a different feel, being more corporate. I serve as divorce care for kids coordinator and teacher. And that is definitely mission outreach. Most people who come to the divorce care classes come from other churches or no churches in the community. They do a lot of mission things, but again, they're the mindset. A lot of times, for example, a Sunday school class might collect money to give to something, but do they really do the hands-on stuff? They really don't. It's easier just to collect the money. I love listening to the choir. I would sing in a choir if I wasn't teaching children's Sunday school a lot of times, but I could just close my eyes and I know that's what heaven's going to be like. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Spirit of the Mountain in Colorado has been a place where I have felt very needed. Both of us have. No Sunday school there, but we have introduced over the last 4 years in-home Bible studies at different times of the year, not just Advent and Lent, and they have been very receptive to being taught which is good. And last Christmas, it was the Advent season, we actually did a Bible study during Advent that was about mission. And that's where we get the little signs of something heartening happening, you know, that, oh gosh, yes, 10 years from now, we might not be here. Oops, maybe we should do something. So.
Missional fear.
Missional fear.
Oh yeah, well trust me, there's a lot of that out there.
Very
Missional
clever.
fear, okay? Okay.
So, you know, I do hope that through this group, we can feel more confident about being that change agent. There's some things going on with that church that we will probably share with you later, but they're in transition to about pastoral leadership. And so it could be that this summer when we're there, Jim and I will be authorized to help lead worship while we're up there. So that's that church.
Thank you.
Well, I go to Community Hope Lutheran Church. We are an African American church. We're the only ones in Fort Worth. I went to PLM initially to be a very good Bible study teacher. You know? Had no idea I'd end up in this role. Had no idea at all. But we've encountered, we're kind of like her. We've got a lot of people who are very rigid and very against change. Or we've got one person who thinks that one person should be able to decide, we're going to do this, and everybody's supposed to go along with that. And I have over the years been trying to tell them change is supposed to come gradually, and it's supposed to be taken before the congregation, before one decision is made. It's a very, you feel a lot of resistance. But since I have been in this position, I have got a lot of encouragement. Now, I have not been involved like you all are. I'm still the little kid trying to find her way. And I've got a mentor, but, and we just got me an email for the church so I can pull up stuff and